guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you're a returning subscriber. It's always good to have you here, and if you're new, I hope you enjoy the energy. Today I want to share with you guys my perspective on the twin flame awakening, your twin flame journey, and the laws of our universe. Tell me what you think. My name is Elif, and I welcome you to evolve with me. So, the reason why I want to do this talk is because I've recently had a viewer, one of my followers, request that I do a talk on, very specifically on the twin flame runner-chaser dynamic. And I've had other clients ask me to do talks on the twin flame connection before. I share a lot about my perspective in my readings, okay? A lot about what spirit brings through in my readings, a lot of the channelings in my readings, and obviously my perspective is based on that. But I have not gone into making specific talks or videos about the twin flame connection because there is so much of that on YouTube and so many different opinions and perspectives, which is fine, because eventually you find your own truth. But personally, as a coach and a spirit guide, I've just preferred to keep my coaching to my clients and what comes through from spirit in those sessions, because we're all in different places. It's not my opinion. It's not what I think is the truth. There is no such thing, because there is your free will, your soul contracts, your evolution as a soul, your own personal journey, your personal karma. There's a lot of things to sort of take into perspective, and so I don't think that it's a one size fits all. However, there are some things that are constant, okay, that we can rely on, and that those are the laws of our universe. The law of attraction, specifically, which is always present, always working for you in your life, sometimes unconsciously, sometimes not deliberately, but it is always constant, okay? It is always a constant. It's the one thing you can rely on. We as human beings, we're fickle. One day we're here, tomorrow we're there. Okay, in one period of our lives we want this, and as we grow and evolve, our perspective changes. We grow, we evolve, and we realize that what we really want is not what we thought we wanted a few years ago. And so our opinions change, which is good because we're growing. We're constantly in a state of evolution. What that means, though, is that sometimes what we think is our truth is based on a whole lot of untruths in our paradigm, in our programming. And so even though we might think that that is what we should rely upon, what we think we want, how we think we feel in that moment, it's not always stable, all right? We're constantly doing this. And so when you are looking for stability, the law of attraction, the laws of our universe is a constant. Gravity is a constant. Physics is a constant. And so I want to do a series in going into the runner-chaser dynamic. You guys can ask questions. Tell me if it rings a bell. Tell me if it resonates with you as I go through this talk. If you have further questions, just pop them into the comments so that I can incorporate them as I go through this, because I don't feel that there is a quick answer to this. And so I want to start right at the beginning. Today, I want to talk, in this series, I want to talk about the laws of our universe and how our twin flame awakening brings that into focus for us. Because as a spiritual, if you feel and you believe that you are a twin flame, then you must know that you have a calling. You feel that you have a calling. That calling is not by some higher power outside of you. That calling is from your own inner being, from your soul, from the eternal self, which is connected to consciousness, the God force. You are not separate from God. So when people ask me, well, what am I supposed to do? What is my destiny? What is meant to happen here? They ask as if it's some external thing that they need to line up with. What's meant to happen is what you want at your deepest level. And sometimes we think we want that particular thing because we think that particular thing is going to bring us satisfaction. But the universe knows that that particular thing is going to bring us maybe a little bit of satisfaction, but a whole lot of what we don't want. And so the universe tries to navigate you towards what you actually are asking for, but we can't always see it. And this is true in so many different areas of our lives. Regardless of how things appear, you are always being guided towards what is best for you. And the universe and everything in your reality is constantly yielding to your asking. So, the law of attraction is your best friend. Better than any friend that you could possibly have in your life. You might think that the best friend you can have is someone that or something that yields to your every whim. The law of attraction responds to your deepest calling. Does not come along with you into your dis-ease, into your chosen suffering. Knows what it is you're reaching for and holds a stable, steady focus on that. So, if I can use the analogy where you have the parent who understands that they are here to simply guide their child through their personal journey, to support their growth and not to hinder it, that their child has their own process, their own soul, their own inner guidance, and that source is constantly guiding that child towards their purpose, what they prefer, personal preference, satisfaction, joy, that you as a parent are simply here to hold space for their journey through life. Then you have the other parent that feels this is my child. There's more of a possessive energy around it, and there's more of an energy of fear around it, where the world is a dangerous place and it is my job to keep this person safe from all the dangers in the world. Two very different energies. And I don't have to tell you how the intention and trying to assert an energy into someone's experience, even if it is your own child, creates a backlash, a repelling energy. If you were to decide to simply witness and enjoy that individual who you love's growth, then that means that you will leave them to climb the obstacle course in the park, even though there is the possibility that they could fall. Because you know that there is a greater value for them in developing their confidence, their sense of self, and to deciding for themselves what the dangers are, what their limitations are. But most importantly, for them to be free in their opportunity for joy and enjoyment. Even though you know there is a slight risk that they could fall and get hurt. You want to honor their process first and foremost. Now, the law of the universe is like that in some ways. I'm going to try and discuss some physical perspectives. You know how the physics of our world, how it works in simple form. And how I look at our reality and our twin flame connection from that perspective, because it helps me to sort of step away from things and look at it based on what I know to be is constant, the laws of our universe. All right? So I don't want to complicate it too much. I'm going to keep it as simple as possible, but I would like to highlight and bring certain subjects in to just help you take a look at it. And you can go and do your own research and come back and give me your feedback. I'd love that from you. But I'm going to try and just have a simple conversation with you and tell me if it resonates and tell me if it helps. Okay? So the twin flame connection is not a connection. It is an awakening. It is a journey, a deeply, deeply, deeply spiritual, sacred journey with yourself. Your twin flame counterpart, which is also known as your perfect mirror. What does that tell you? Mirror reflects you. Is a physical manifestation of your soul self. Just like you have the I, which you identify with, that's your personality. You know, I am a woman. I do this job. I am a mother. I am a wife. I am a girlfriend. I am a daughter. I love this. I love that. Those are all things associated with your 3D reality and with your personality. And most of the time when we ask someone, tell me about you, those are the things that will come up. Then there is the part of you that is eternal. The part of you that focuses a part of itself into this body. A part of you that has lived, existed since the beginning of time. And that is the soul self. That is your consciousness. That is the energy that flows through your body, this vessel. The self cannot be described through words. Words cannot possibly hold the meaning, enough depth. Words would fail terribly, miserably, in any attempt to describe the self. The self can only be felt. It is a vibration. It is your essence. We are a tripart being. We have a mind, which is the tool. It's like the motor, the computer, the system that runs this vessel. That's the programming, okay? That's the tool. You have the mind, you have the body, which is the vessel that propels you forward, that helps you to have this physical 3D experience. So the mind is the programming, the body is the tool, and then you are soul. Mind, body, soul. Twin flames, they have two separate minds, which means they have their own programming. Two separate bodies, their own tools. One soul. If you sit down and you're introspective and you look at, as you go through a journey of self-discovery, of diving deeper and deeper into yourself, you will come to find that for most of our lives, we've functioned through these two parts, aspects of who we are. They are well exercised. And then, depending on your personal journey, you begin awakening, perhaps in doses, aspects of who you are, aspects of self, you begin awakening to it. And when you are activated by your twin flame, you begin this powerful, deep awakening to not only everything about you, but about this universe that you have come to experience, that you have come to enjoy, about this 3D reality, but also how you can bring the knowledge, the wisdom that you have and that you've always had long before this, and how you can incorporate it into what may be perceived to be limitations here in this 3D reality. So when I say that the twin flame is it's not a connection between you and somebody else, because you are one. It is a part of yourself that is a physical manifestation in the 3D reality, so that you can see yourself with clarity. Because it is easier for us to search for answers outside of ourselves. It is our go-to to hold external factors responsible for our happiness. It is our go-to to give our power away. And the Twin Flame Awakening helps you to truly individuate. This is an awakening. It is a journey between you and you. So the reason why I wanted to look at this specifically is because there is often this dynamic of one of the divine counterparts chasing after the other, and then it feels like that one is running, or vice versa. And some people say that sometimes I'm the runner, sometimes sometimes I'm the chaser, sometimes I'm the runner, and vice versa. And so there's this constant me or them, me or them, me or them. Why is my person doing this? Why is my person doing that? And it comes up a lot in readings, obviously. And most of the time when people reach out to me to do a twin flame reading, it is because they want to know what is going on with this person. Is this even real? Am I imagining any of this? And then when I take them through a coaching process, I help them to see that they're really looking at themselves. That what they think they're reaching for in that person can only really be found here. So there is a lot of deconstructing of the old programming, a lot of upgrading of the system, and a lot of replacing of the old concepts about relationships that takes place. So you must have heard about positive and negative polarity. Okay, we call the divine feminine the positive the positive twin. Okay, the positive polarity in the connection, and the divine masculine, the negative polarity in the connection. Now automatically your mind will go to positive being good and negative being bad. But this is a misconception, because remember, this is a soul journey. This has got nothing to do with your ego, and this is really about it's going to push against a lot of your programming. So the mind automatically goes towards black and white, good or bad, right or wrong. And it takes a really long time to get away from that. Because in order to make something right and something wrong, you've got to be in a position of judgment. And there's this constant war between good and evil that goes on. How do you come into harmony with your soul? How do you come into harmony with your twin? If you're constantly at war, if you perceive the divine masculine to be the negative twin in the twin flame connection, how can you ever attract goodness from that when you perceive it to be wrong and negative? So your perspective, your paradigm has to shift. And that is why I want to talk a little bit about how I see the dynamic. So positive and negative. I always think of it, and this is how Spirit shows it to me, as a battery. Right? So energy is very useful. We use energy for everything. Our entire lives are enhanced by energy in the kitchen, through our devices, everywhere, every area in our lives. Energy makes things work better. Energy produces great results and makes our lives easier. You as an individual, you're an energy being. And under a microscope, the atoms, the molecules, you can actually see them vibrating. Everything that is matter, everything that we can taste, touch, and feel is energy. And of course, even that which we cannot taste, touch, and feel is energy. So energy is everywhere around us. You are energy. You are a vibrating energy, a constant vibrating energy. Okay. So Spirit shows it to me in the form of a battery. And a battery has a positive side and a negative side, right? And I'm just going to keep it simple. But the negative side sends out energy molecules, but it sends it out to find its way to its positive side, back to itself. Okay? So you might wonder, but then why does it not just find a direct link inside of the battery to the positive end? Because there is a conductor inside of the battery which prevents it from doing that. So that negative side of the battery repels the energy, so that the positive side can receive it. So it moves out, and it's going to find any means possible, any way possible to find its way back to the positive side of the battery. I hope I'm making sense. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. But that's its only aim, is to find its way to the positive side of the battery. So the light, or the vacuum, or the toaster, but for this conversation, let's keep it to a light. The light is a conductor of that energy. And the reason why that electricity moves through the light and then lights it up is because it's its only pathway to the positive side. So the purpose is not necessarily to light up the room. The purpose is to move through it, because this is the pathway to the positive side of the battery. Now imagine if you and your twin flame, just imagine that you and your twin flame are two sides of the same battery. I like to say two sides of the same coin, but in this case, two sides of the same battery. You are one, but on the one side faces this way, never gets to see the other side. The other side, the positive side, faces that way and doesn't really see the other side. The best way to meet one another would be internally. But often we have so many barriers internally. And so we try and find the energy, the vibration that is us, tries to find that pathway externally. And there's a conductor that is that pathway that guides. That can be light. That light, I want you to imagine that light is the various subjects that you're wrestling with in your connection. Okay? So, if you were to draw a diagram of a battery with a light, which is the conductor, and you were to see that energy travel through that light to find its way to the positive polarity, and you were to look at your twin flame connection in that way, then I could say to you, just imagine that your divine masculine, which you perceive to be the negative polarity, is constantly searching for you. There is no access to you internally, because internally you've got so much going on that creates barriers. There's a lot of material in our world that stops energy from moving through it. Some of our programming, some of our karma, some of our information, subconscious information, some of our concepts, some of our beliefs, our fears prevent that connection internally, right? So now you have this person who is a physical manifestation of the other side of your soul, of you, that is this battery, and it is constantly trying to reach you, constantly trying to find its way to you outside of itself. And you're constantly trying, because the negative side is the negative side repels the energy, and the positive side is the receptor. So if you were to look at it from that perspective, what does that tell you? That means that, and you can write this down as you go along and see if it makes sense to you. If it makes sense in your experience, that means that even though you think that your divine masculine, the negative polarity in your connection, is running from you, it's actually not running from you. It's trying to find another way to you. In order to find its way to you, there is a conductor, and that is the light. But that conductor can be many other things. It can be symbolic of many, many other things. It can be subjects, it can be things to work through, it can be various obstacles, but in essence, it is searching for something that can hold its energy and act as a conductor so that it can make its way to you. And that is normally the light. So your divine masculine, when you experience your divine masculine as running from you, it is furthest from the truth. Your divine masculine is actually trying to find the part of you that is light. Trying to find its way back to you through the light. Through light. So the divine masculine, the negative polarity, can often appear to be looking for ease, satisfaction, what feels less stressful, what feels less resistant, what feels easier and lighter, because it is seeking to find its way to the part of you that is representative of light. And in our limited perception of that, we can see it as this person is running from me. I'm offering goodness. I'm offering light. I am the positive polarity. But instead of attracting the energy, there is a repelling that's taking place to try and find its way back round to the positive. So what if the material inside of the battery was to be removed? The material that prevents the energy from flowing inward, what if that was to be removed? What if there was no blockage to that energy moving internally in the battery? Then the negative would send the energy directly inside the battery to the positive. The negative polarity, the negative side of the battery, would send the energy directly through the battery would repel the energy, but it will go through the easiest course, which is through the inside. and the positive side of the battery would receive that energy. And that seems really, really easy. That seems simple, right? So you might then wonder, but if it can be that simple, then why is it not just like that? And there's two answers to this question. Number one, because even though we as humans think that it would be great if we didn't have the opportunity for growth, if things were just easy, if things just happened instantaneous and it was simple, if something needed to be moved out of the way, it was just moved out of the way. Even though we think that would be the ideal world to live in, it's not the world we live in. It's not, because it's not the one we created, because it's not what we wanted. It would be boring. And it would undermine who we are as beings. Like something needs to control our reality. We should be controlled. But if you know that you are a God force, if you know that you are a part of God, then you know that you're creating this reality. Why would you create this reality? Why are you here? We are all here for expansion. And expansion is evolution. And the opportunity to evolve presents contrast. If you don't have a wide open field with nothing but rich soil, how would you have the opportunity to plant seeds and to grow beautiful crop? That experience of having our hand in the clay, that's what we love. If you could just wake up with the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with tomorrow, that sounds like a great idea, but it will be so boring. You won't go through all of those stages of discovery, of self-discovery, of going through various experiences and having your love and your confidence in one another and your trust in one another restored and rebuilt. And you wouldn't go through that whole process of falling in love with your person, getting to know them, and then getting to know yourself in a new and profound way. It would be boring. And that is the truth. So we did come here for expansion. And part of expansion is contrast. And even though in this human form, with this old outdated programming, we can struggle with that contrast and we can get caught up on it and we can think it causes us so much suffering, but it is only because we insist upon our personal limitations that we recreate that suffering. The soul self didn't take that into account because it knew we'll know what to do. We'll let in the growth, we'll let in the joy, we'll let in the satisfactory and the expansion, and it will be good. So back to the battery. So we have all of this going on internally. And the reason why as twin flames we go through the process, the initial process of activation, where we meet, where the positive and the negative side, these energy, they are calling to one another all the time. The positive side is saying, come to me, come to me. I'm receptive, I want to receive, I want to receive. I want to receive this energy. And the negative side is saying, I'm sending it out, I want to find you, I want to find you. There you are, when you see your divine masculine as the runner, remember they're the perfect mirror. You are seeing an aspect of yourself that is reaching out to what you want instead of being receptive. There is a difference. There's no assertion in our reality. So think about it this way. You're calling you're the positive side of the battery and you're calling to the negative side. You're expecting it to come to you, right? You want it to come to you. And the only way that it can find its way to you is to go out, to repel its energy, knowing that like a magnet, it's going to find its way to you. All you see is that it's moving away from you because you're so focused on it. You don't see how its journey towards you finds its way to these conductors which give light, and then to you. And that serves the greater picture so much more. Okay, so we can look at various subjects, and I do this in my coaching, where we look at very specific. Obviously I'm speaking very generally now, and it's going to resonate for you based on your experience or not. But normally I would look at a very specific area, a very specific subject, something that you're dealing with your twin flame, and I will be able to show you that, how that works. But the reality here is that that is the only path it's got until you get rid of those things inside of the battery, inside of you, that hinders that energy from flowing internally. And in order for you to do that, you've got to stop seeing your twin flame as a separate being. But they're doing this, and they don't seem to appreciate me, and they're doing that. And why don't they understand how valuable I am? And why don't they understand that we have a mission? Part of them going out of themselves to find you is to show you how you go out of yourself, how you separate from yourself to find your positive polarity, to find self. But that it is never wasted, it is never meaningless, because that electricity, that vibration always finds its way to the positive polarity. You are both positive and negative polarity, and so is your person. They're a physical representation of your negative polarity, the way that they act out the connection, the way that they clearly show and represent the fears, the tendencies, and vice versa. So, but whilst in that pursuit to find its way to the positive polarity, which is then receptive, it goes through that conductor, which is light. And so all these different areas, the things we call karmics, the things we call obstacles, the things we call problems and issues, there are so many karmic issues and situations in the twin flame connection, which is to blame for and is the reason for why we're not happy, living happily ever after. No, they're the light, they're the conductor. They're the only path through which that energy and that vibration can find its way to its positive polarity, to its true self, to its soul self. It is this dance that is happening and taking place between the I and the self, that which you identify with as you and that which is the self. It is a physical manifestation in the 3D as between you as a person and your twin flame divine masculine as a person. But just like you see them as your negative polarity, they see you as their negative polarity, depending on the dynamic that's taking place energetically. There is no separation between you and this person. And it's not that we are so wise and they are so foolish. When you go through a real process of individuation and a real process of delving into and understanding what is happening energetically in your connection, but most importantly in your and I say connection because that's how we perceive it between us and this person, but in your awakening, then you will see that you are actually just seeing yourself. This person honors you and serves your soul calling and your spiritual awakening by being your perfect reflection. And the more that you allow them to be an excuse to pinch yourself off from yourself, the more they've got to find external conductors to find their way to you. And that's where that twin flame union and then separation, union and separation, union, which is also an illusion. It's not real. It's actually what's happening within you when you're in separation from yourself, because you're reaching out for the negative polarity to find its way home, which you believe is you. Then you are not acting in your true essence as the receptor of your reality, receiving what it is that is yours, what's meant to be for you. There is no assertion in our universe. When you try and assert that your divine masculine, when you try to reach out to them with your thoughts, with your energy, with your emotions, with your frustration, with your anger, with your love, whatever you want to call it, you're trying to assert your importance and your value into their experience. And when we try to assert in this reality, we create backlash, because there's no such thing. It is reception, it is attraction, attraction, attraction. And in order to attract, you have to be receptive. So what is the other way that you can allow this energy to flow into your experience without it needing these external conductors? You remove those barriers internally. And that's where paradigm shift comes into play. What are the things inside of you that separates I and self? When I and self come into union, you are in union. And if it is your soul contract, if you and your twin flame have come here to work through and to grow through various karmic cycles, to walk side by side, then you'll come into union. But union can look different for everybody, and that's another thing that I want to talk about. Union is not this it's not every love story, a romantic movie with what you perceive to be a happy ending. It is more evolved than that. Union is different for everybody, okay? And where this takes you, most importantly, is to union with yourself. That's the best way that the Twin Flame Awakening can serve you, with union with yourself, your true self. And that part of you that is self is connected to everything in the universe, to the fullness of who you are. So, we have that energy that I talk about that moves from the battery, from the negative through the conductor to the positive side of the battery. I should probably have done a diagram, but I think that if you can just Google how does a battery work, and you can see it anywhere on YouTube. Those electrons that move through the battery, they are negatively charged. Electrons, atoms. Why am I saying atoms? I don't know. Sometimes I am not a scientist, please, people. This is just what I see, what I'm shown, and then, to the best of my knowledge, what I can explain. Okay. But if you were to go and look at how a battery works, things will really start making sense to you in terms of how our energy flows. And specifically within the twin flame dynamic. Okay. In many different areas, of course, but this is what we're talking about. So those electrons are negatively charged. So there has to be a certain amount of energy. Normally when you try and push it towards one another, it won't touch. Electrons will just bounce off of one another, right? And this is why I say the twin flame connection is so similar to how energy works. How electrons work. You have to have a huge amount or certain amount of force for them to actually touch, but they will never stay together. They will always bounce off. They'll touch and they'll bounce off. They'll touch and they'll bounce off, and they'll touch and they'll bounce off. And this is why it is so important that we talk about the reality that you will never just be, your dream is that you will be glued together. But the truth is, that's not how electrons work. They bounce one off of each other. Okay. And this is the fundamental limit to so there's a limit to the number of electrons that can occupy a space. So that's why my hand, I can bring my hand towards this hand, and I can, the harder I push towards it, the, you know, there's this force that wants to push away. It's not going to go through. This hand is not going to go through that hand, because that's just the way that it is. The universe won't allow that. So for example, let me use, and do yourself a favor, just research electrons and how they work and how they function. If we're electricity, if we're vibration and frequency, we have electrons, right? We have protons and we have electrons. But electrons, there's only there's a fundamental limit of electrons that can occupy a space, and then it just doesn't allow any more. And the universe does not allow two electrons to occupy the same space. And that's why I say go and research it. Just type in how do electrons work. There's normally one that spins up and one that spins down, and those are the only two that sort of can function together. There is a fundamental limit to the amount of electrons that can be in the same space. Okay, so just like this tarot box has a certain number of electrons, and so does my hand. My hand will not push through it, cannot go through it, because the electrons contribute to this being matter. It's not going to go through. I can maybe push it, but it's not going to go through. And so there is this bouncing off that takes place when there's a certain amount of force. So like if this comes at a high speed and my hand comes at a high speed, there's going to be a bouncing off. Okay, that takes place. I know this probably sounds, especially if you're scientific, is going to be like, she can explain that better. But I want to keep this simple. And I don't expect you to take my word for it. Like I said, go and research how batteries work. Just simple video. How does a battery work? What is an electron? What is a proton? Proton is, so as I said, electrons, they're negatively charged. Okay? And protons, they're positively charged because they're light particles. And there's no limit to the amount or to the number of protons that can be in one place. And light particles, they can move through one another, and there's no limit. Many of them can come together. And the reason why I mention this is because if you want to get to a point where you're able to stay in one place with your divine counterpart, you need to become more light. You need to become more light. And as I said, light does not really, it doesn't sort of take up the space of other, they can move through one another. It's not like matter that takes up space. There is this, light just functions differently, right? And there's this movement, one that can go through the other, and many protons can occupy a space. There's no limit to it. So if you want your connection or your relationship with self, your relationship with your divine masculine, your relationship with that which you call your negative polarity, to be harmonious and to occupy the same 3D space, you have to be willing to become more like a proton. You need to become more like a light particle. Okay? That is a different energy. That is the energy of openness, open-endedness. That is the energy of receptivity. That is the energy of light. That is the energy of love. It is not dense, okay? And it does not seek to occupy space. It just is, and it just illuminates, and it just brings light. And this is what the state that needs to be achieved for that union to take place. So it is natural and it is fair to say that most twin flames will come into a form of union, but may not choose to have a 3D merging of their lives. Perhaps not in the romantic sense, perhaps working together but not in the romantic sense, perhaps friendship but not in the romantic sense, some in the romantic sense, but then it might be temporary, because it's always going to bring up that next thing internally that is creating a blockage that you need to address. And in order to find your positive polarity, your light self, you've got to find a conductor. So it'll be a different subject, it'll be a different thing that's being reflected to you. Negatively charged electrons. The universe does not allow many electrons to occupy the same space, because then it can contribute to negative possibilities, effects not following cause, and things just not working out physically. And as I said to you before, the laws of our universe, the physics in our universe is standard. It's the same. It's constant. It's not going to make an exception because you feel that your case is different. It's not going to make an exception because there is no, it's the same, it's constant for everybody. It's not, no one's going to be special in this regard. And so taking these laws into account helps to simplify things. If I would like for that which I consider to be my negative polarity, the other side of me, to find its way to me, I have to accept that there is a conductor. That conductor serves me and does not hinder me. As long as I see that as the enemy, as long as I'm jealous of that conductor, then I'm limiting myself. Okay. The other thing to keep in mind is they're always going to find their way to the part of me to the part of themselves that I represent. They are always going to find their way to the part of themselves that I represent. And that does not have to match some romantic notion that I have set in my mind. Because if I have one way that this is supposed to work out, where I'm going to say, now that things have worked out for me, then I am limited to a construct that my ego has created, that my soul has not bought into. You have to be unconditional about how this works out. Your person's happiness and peace, finding the aspect of themselves that is the divine feminine within, needs to be more important than posting that you're their person and being with you and spending days and nights with you and making you the center of their world. As long as that is more important than where their personal journey takes them, and more important than finding them the divine feminine within themselves, then you are not in your light. Then you act as a negatively charged electron as well. And they're going to bounce off one another all the time. That's just the way that it is. So when you're struggling, if you were to sit down and you were to take these key points in my own simple way that I've tried to present to you, and you were to focus on the situation based on those, the fact that I'm wrestling with why my person cannot just be here with me, why there has to be all these external forces. Remember then the battery analogy. What is it that the universe is trying to show me I need to work through inside of myself that creates a barrier between me and me? What is it that my divine masculine is showing me? Or my divine counterpart, male or female? So obviously I'm not talking about man and woman here, because it can go either way. And it's always going either way. What is it that I am showing to myself through this person? What is it that they are mirroring to me? If I see them running towards distraction, what are the ways in which I distract myself from my connection with self? Do I use my twin flame as a distraction from what I need to be giving attention to here? Do I use my twin flame as an excuse for why I'm not letting in the abundance, the joy, and the happiness that I'm supposed to? The fact that in order for me to create an environment in which it's not two people taking up space and bouncing off of one another, that I need to become more light. You know, so those are all indications, those are all a guide. They serve as a guide for you to navigate your journey. Because as I said, the laws are constant. You are ever changing. You wake up on a different side of the bed every day. Your wants, your needs, they change. But the laws of the universe are a constant. And there is one way that energy behaves. There is one way that energy behaves. If it is a proton, then it's like this air, right? My hands can move through this air. You know there's air everywhere around me. I'm breathing oxygen, but my hands can move through it. Objects can move through it. However, this, there is already a fixed amount of electrons here, and there's a fixed amount of electrons in my hand, and so they cannot move through one another. And with enough force, they can bounce off of one another. But what about the magnet? Magnets also, the same sides, they don't come together. It's the two opposite sides that hold, that bond together really strong. So the negative is always trying to find its way to the positive polarity. So this would explain why the divine feminine believes that she is the chaser and that she's in this unwanted sad place where her divine masculine is constantly running away from her until she comes to the point where she is able to awaken to her truth or his truth and realize that I'm actually the one repelling the energy here. That I thought I was the chaser, but I'm actually the runner. I'm running from the energy. Okay, and I'm the one that's been looking for that conductor to find my way to my positive over and over, finding external ways to find my way back to self, the positive side of me. And like I said, there's no negative or positive. Together they make up together they make up the fullness of what and who they are. So, and when I talk about they, I mean these two sides of you. And coming to that place within yourself will bring you into union one way or another according to your soul plan. But it is always about you and you. It's not about you and them and you, what they're doing and what they're not doing. It's always about you. Sorry, that's my rabbit making a noise. Okay. So, in the next part of this conversation, I'm going to delve into how, the principles of the law of attraction affect our paradigm, our reality, and why it's so important to take that into account, because like attracts like. If your divine masculine or your divine feminine is showing you something that is very unpleasant and unwanted, treating you in a way that is unpleasant and unwanted, then they are mirroring to you how you betray yourself, how you abandon yourself, how you neglect yourself, how you do not see your true value and your true worth, how you seek distraction instead of really sitting with yourself and really delving into who you are. That everything that they present to you is who you are. And you might say, I would never do that, and that's not me, and I'm a much better person, and I've always shown love, and I've always given love. If you're a twin flame, and you've only ever gotten from your twin flame what you don't want, then you've not yet found a space where you feel safe enough to deal with your truth. So in the next talk, that's what we delve into. We delve into some of how your unconscious can affect your connection and every other area of your life, of course, but we're looking at the twin flame dynamic. We're looking at exactly what vibration is, what is a paradigm, and then I'm going to go into the runner-chaser dynamic a little bit more, and I'm going to look at what to do, the different stages of the twin flame awakening, how you could possibly misunderstand them, and then some practice that you can implement to help you on your journey. Okay, so this is going to be probably a 4-part series, a 4-part talk, and so if you're interested, you know, just like, subscribe, click the notification bell so you can see when I upload again. If you enjoyed this talk, in its simplicity, just a casual talk between me and you, if you found that it resonates, please comment, let me know what you think. And then I look forward to seeing you next time. If you would like to get a twin flame reading, if you'd like to get clarity about your connection, is it a real twin flame connection? Are you on a twin flame journey? What are some of the things that you need to, what are some of the blockages that you need to work through? How can you best do that? What is it that you need to be aware of? You're welcome to contact me. My email is in the description box below. Thank you so much, guys, for your likes, your comments, for sharing this video with your friends and family. Thank you for all of your support. Sending you so much love and light. I'll chat to you guys next time.